We are going to start tonight's program for the class of 2019 with Ed DeMuth. Ed was a standout two-way lineman for the Trojans during the dominating years of Fruitport football in the early 1970s. He earned all-conference and all-state honors in 1972 and 73. He went on to Central Michigan University and won the NCAA Division II National Championship in his freshman year. He was also inducted into this Hall of Fame with his teammates from the 71 and 72 teams. I have a feeling some of them are here tonight too. Here's a little bit more on Ed.
Growing up, I was always playing football in the sandlots and on the playgrounds at school. I started playing my freshman year at Fruitport, and I was actually the fullback on the team.
Ed DeMuth was a freshman when I was a senior, and I remember walking in the gym, and I didn't know those kids because they had gone to Beach, I think, in 8th grade, because Beach was they were building the middle school, and everything wasn't quite ready yet. So I didn't know these kids, and these great big kids are walking by me, and I thought, who are they? Well, that's an 8th grader. Well, that's Ed DeMuth. Well, that's Chris Wilson. That's Larry Hall. Oh, wow. Future's going to be good when those kids get out there, and it was, but yeah, Ed was very quiet. And what I know him as an adult is, he's a very good guy.
And I really didn't know Ed until a little bit of that 8th grade year, and even in that 8th grade year, all I knew was he was the biggest guy on the planet, right? I mean, he was something else. Everybody else is going, wow, who's this guy? They have to have a different colored jersey for this guy because they don't have one that fits. He was always the biggest guy.
He really did a good job. He was quick, and he was a big kid at that time. I think he was around 225 or 230, and he was one of the stalwarts of our offensive line.
And we ran the ball in the I formation. That's what we did. We threw very, very little. And when we ran the ball, we ran it over Ed. He was the guy.
We had some really big guys, some really mean dudes on this team. When I think about some of the write-ups in the Muskegon Chronicle, they used to call us the Beef Trust and the Big Blue.
One of my favorite stories is we used to talk about those games because I played next to him, and we used to double team the defensive tackle a lot, and we would always make a pact that we would try to take the offensive tackle out of the film frame before the running back got there.
I remember how cool we looked in our uniforms when we came out to do our pregame warm-ups, and how we would intimidate the other team by how good we looked and how good we actually did our warm-ups. I remember Coach Holden introducing tearaway jerseys. The Beeve, Steve Sharakman, and his bow legs, because he really looked funny when he ran around end. I remember Chris Wilson and the nickname that I gave him, which was Swivel Hips. And the reason I call him Swivel Hips is because he was very tough to tackle.
Ed was the big brother, Rich was the smaller brother, and Tom nicknamed him the Big Knocker and the Little Knocker.
So one thing that was brought to our attention was a practice that Uncle Rick got let off a little easy by Ed, and then he really heard about it from the rest of the team, that he had let his little brother get away with it.
Just a quiet guy outside of football. He came to work every day on the field and at the games, and gave 100% all the time.
Very good student and a good person. The kids all looked up to him.
By the end of our senior year, there were a lot of coaches from the college level looking at Ed. He had opportunities to go to several Big Ten schools on full ride scholarship. All the regional schools in the Midwest would have taken him as a full ride scholar. He had an offer from Central Michigan University, as I did, and we were both made a decision to go to Central, and so we continued our career at Central, not knowing as freshmen that 1974 Central Michigan team would do something special that year. We went on with that program through mid-December. We practiced because that was the last year. Central Michigan was a D2, Division II college, university. The next year, 75, they were going to go to D1. And so we were able to play in the Division II national tournament of football in 1974. That team ended up winning that Division II national championship, and we became national champion members with that team. So it was really, really special year. We roomed together, we had a great time together, we enjoyed the time. That team of 1974 was inducted into the Central Michigan University Sports Hall of Fame in 2004.
I remember walking down the hallways and stuff in high school and seeing his picture up in the wall and just thinking, that's my uncle. You know, I mean, I was pretty proud of what he had accomplished, and that was kind of neat to know that being on a team made such an impact on his life.
Right. And I now have children at Fruitport High School who are student athletes here, and now they have a great uncle on the board. So
I just want to say to Ed, you know, well deserved, long overdue, and appreciate all your friendship and commitment to everything.
During my 4 years of playing ball at Fruitport, the teams that I was on, we only lost one game. My junior year, I was named by the Detroit Free Press along with Bob Ferguson, the first team All-State. My senior year at Fruitport, I was named by the UPI as first string All-State. None of those honors compare to the honor of being inducted into the Fruitport Hall of Fame. I have to give, once again, the credit for all of this to my teammates and to Coach Holden for the things that they did, the contributions that everyone made to be able to go 4 years with only losing one game. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1974, Ed DeMuth.
Wow, 46 years ago. Can't believe it. It's a long time. I want to thank Steve Anderson for nominating me. I want to thank the nominating committee for approving it. I want to thank Kay and for Rocky for all of their help, and my wife Deb. You know, she's been with me for 38 years, so I have to give her some credit for everything that happens in my life. I want to thank Larry Hall, who has been a good friend, a good teammate, Anne Marie and Wendy, my nieces, who I'm very proud of. So thank you for all those comments. I was surprised when I heard that Steve Anderson had nominated me. I'm going like, why? And his response was, it's about time that a lineman gets a little credit, you know, for making the blocks for the quarterbacks and the running backs. During my years at Fruitport, my freshman year, you know, the coaches made a terrible mistake. They made me the fullback on the team. Now, why would anybody make me a fullback? Rocky reminded me not too long ago that I was just too big to tackle. So that's why they made me the fullback. During my years from sophomore to senior year, you know, we had a lot of fun. But over those 4 years, we lost one game. The group of guys that I played with only lost one game, and that's quite a feat. And the one game that we did lose, and I won't take credit away from anybody, but you know, you can't go so many games without losing, without having people hurt. And you know, we fought right to the bitter end on that game, and just plain ran out of time. If we had more time, I'm pretty sure we would have won that game. The couple things I do remember here is the culture of the win. We always knew we were going to win. And that culture was brought to Fruitport by Coach Holden and his staff. If not for the one loss in 1973, Coach Holden would have had 3 seasons without a loss. That's amazing, just amazing. The combined record for the teams for 71, 72, and 73, now get this, was 27 wins and 1 loss. The amazing part of this whole thing, we scored 777 points and only gave up 132. And that's all because of that man. You know, I tell people that there is no I in team. And if it wasn't for my teammates, like Larry on the video, helping me do double team blocks, and, you know, he played defensive end next to me. And if it wasn't for him, you know, he helped a lot. We were a good team. The Beaver, Steve Schrackman, you know, running around end, you know, if it wasn't for him. Chris Wilson, swivel hips. You know, Chris was a tremendous runner, and he was a heck of a linebacker. Bob Ferguson, who had a lot of speed, you know, my junior year. And my brother Rick, little knocker, I have to thank him for letting me beat him up at practice. And the rest of the team, and the rest of the teams are, you know, helping. I would never have received these honors if it wasn't for my teammates. I don't remember a lot about the games, but the one thing I do remember about being at Fruitport, it was on a summer, hot 2-a-day practice, and I had just gotten over being sick. And honestly, I sucked. That day, I sucked at practice. And I felt so bad. When I walked off the field, I walked over to the coach and I said, "Coach, I'll give you 110% tomorrow." And Coach Holden turned to me, and I've remembered this. I've used this my whole life. He says, "No one can give 110%. Do the best that you can." Thank you, Coach.